The Xylos Confederacy had been fighting the swarm for 300 years. That was a very long time. Generations of Xylos were born, grew old, and died, all while the war continued. The swarm was not like other enemies. It was not an empire with leaders and cities and lands. It was a hunger. Millions of ships, each one shaped like a dak insect, moved through space like a cloud of locusts. They ate planets whole. They stripped the surface of everything living. They left behind only dust and silence. The Xylos had fought bravely. They had built great fleets. They had trained millions of soldiers. They had recruited allies from across the galaxy. But one by one, their allies fell. The swarm ate their worlds too. One by one, the Xylos' fleets were destroyed. The swarm was too many. Too fast. Too hungry. Every battle was the same. The Xylos fought hard, killed many, but in the end, the swarm kept coming. Endless. Relentless. Like a tide of teeth. Now only the Xylos' homeworld remained. A single planet called Xylos Prime. It was a beautiful world, full of blue oceans and green forests and tall white cities. But the swarm was coming. Scouts reported the dark cloud of ships was only 3 days away. In 3 days, the last light of the Xylos would go out forever. The Xylos Council met in a bunker deep underground. The bunker was cold and dark. The leaders sat around a round table. Their faces were gray with fear and exhaustion. They had tried everything. Every weapon. Every strategy. Every prayer. Nothing worked. The swarm did not negotiate. Did not surrender. Did not feel mercy. It simply ate. An old general stood up. Her name was Saris. She had fought in every battle for 200 years. Her body was scarred. Her eyes were tired. Her voice was low and rough, like stones grinding together. "There is one species we have not asked," she said. The council stared at her. They had asked everyone. Every ally. Every neutral species. Every old enemy. No one would help. No one could help. The swarm was too terrible. "Who?" asked the council leader. "Humans," Saris said. The room went silent. The humans were a small species from a small blue planet. They had no empire. No great fleet. No advanced weapons. They were barely spacefaring. Most of the galaxy ignored them. They were not warriors. They were not scientists. They were just there. But Saris had read their history. She had spent many long nights in the library, looking for anything that could help. She found the humans by accident. An old exploration report from a scout ship that had passed near their system. The report was short. It said the humans had spent their entire history fighting each other. Wars after wars. Blood after blood. But they had never been conquered. Never been destroyed. They always survived. Saris read deeper. She learned about their world wars. Their nuclear weapons. Their cold wars. Their small conflicts and large ones. She learned that humans were not strong. They did not have natural weapons or thick skin or great strength. What they had was stubbornness. They refused to die. They refused to give up. They did impossible things when their backs were against the wall. The council leader shook his head. "They are primitives. They cannot help us." Saris looked at him with her tired eyes. "We have 3 days left. Our fleets are gone. Our allies are dead. The swarm is coming. What do we have to lose?" No one answered. Because there was no answer. They had nothing left. Nothing except a single word and a small hope. The council agreed. They sent a single message to Earth. One word. No explanation. No request for terms. No promise of reward. Just one word. Help. The message traveled through space. It passed dying stars and empty systems. It reached the small blue planet. It was received by a small radio dish in a desert. A human woman saw the word on her screen. She did not know what it meant. She did not know who sent it. But she felt something. A shiver. A call. She forwarded the message to her leaders. They read it. They argued. They debated. They asked questions that had no answers. Who sent this? Why? Is it a trick? But in the end, they made a choice. The same choice humans had always made when someone asked for help. They answered. The message went back across the stars. One word. On our way. The Xylos Council received the reply. They did not celebrate. They did not hope. They simply waited. 3 days. The swarm was coming. And somewhere out there, a small species from a small blue planet was doing something no one had ever done before. They were coming to help. Not because they were strong. Because they were human. And humans did not let the dark win without a fight. Earth received the message. One word. Help. The leaders of the planet read it. They read it again. Some wanted to ignore it. Why should they help strangers? They had their own problems. Their own wars. Their own hungry people. But others argued differently. They said the galaxy was big, but kindness was bigger. They said if someone asks for help, you help. That was what humans did. They argued for 1 hour. Then they made a decision. They would help. The galaxy expected a great fleet. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. That was how wars were fought. Big armies against big armies. That was the only way anyone knew. But humans did not think like the rest of the galaxy. They had spent their whole history doing more with less. They had won battles against larger enemies not by being stronger, but by being smarter. So they sent one ship. It was old. It was small. Its hull was scratched and stained. Its engines coughed when they started. It looked like a garbage hauler. Something you used to move trash from one place to another. The Xylo's general, Saris, watched it land on her planet's surface. She felt her heart sink. This was their hope. A junk ship. The ramp opened. A human walked out. His name was Marcus Cole. He had gray hair and calm eyes. He wore simple clothes, not a uniform. He looked like a farmer, like someone who grew vegetables and fixed fences. Not a soldier. Not a savior. Saris walked up to him. Her voice was hard. "This is your army." Marcus smiled. It was a slow, easy smile. "This is our scout," he said. "The army comes after we see what we are fighting." Saris wanted to argue. There was no time. The swarm would arrive in 2 days. 2 days. That was nothing. A blink. A breath. They did not have time for scouting. They needed weapons. They needed ships. They needed miracles. But Marcus was already walking back up the ramp. He did not ask for permission. He did not wait for orders. He simply went. The ramp closed. The old ship lifted off. And Marcus Cole flew straight toward the swarm's last known location. Alone. In a garbage hauler. The Xylos watched on their screens. They expected the human to die. They expected a small explosion, a brief flash of light, and then nothing. That was what happened to everyone who got too close to the swarm. The swarm did not take prisoners. It did not leave survivors. It simply ate. But Marcus did not die. He flew straight into the swarm's territory, weaving between the dark insect-like ships like a small fish among sharks. The swarm did not even notice him. He was too small, too quiet, too unimportant. He recorded everything. The size of the swarm, the movement patterns, the communication signals. Then he flew back out, just as calmly as he had gone in. The Xylos watched in disbelief. No one had ever done that. No one had ever gone into the swarm and returned. But the human had. Because the human had not tried to fight. He had simply watched. And sometimes, watching was more important than fighting. Marcus returned with data. He locked himself in a small room. He studied the recordings for 6 hours. He did not sleep. He did not eat. He just watched and thought and planned. Then he made a call back to Earth. His voice was calm. "I know how to beat them," he said. "Send the army." The next day, a second ship arrived. It was also small. It was also old. It looked just as useless as the first one. Saris felt her heart sink again. But this ship carried no weapons. No soldiers. No bombs. It carried something else. Something the galaxy had never seen before. A virus. Not a biological virus. A digital one. A piece of code designed to infect the swarm's hive mind. The swarm was not a collection of individual ships. It was a single mind controlling millions of bodies. Kill the mind, and the bodies became blind. Kill the mind, and the swarm would stop. The humans had not built a bigger gun. They had not built a stronger shield. They had not built a faster ship. They had built a smarter weapon. A weapon that did not destroy. It infected. It confused. It killed from the inside. Saris looked at the small ship. She looked at Marcus. She finally understood. The humans had not sent an army. They had sent an idea. And sometimes, one good idea was worth more than 1,000,000 ships. The human plan was simple. That was the strange part. Everyone else had tried complex plans. Great fleets. Powerful weapons. Clever strategies. Nothing worked. The swarm always adapted. Always ate. Always won. But the human plan was so simple that the Xylos almost laughed when they heard it. The swarm was controlled by a single hive mind. A central intelligence that gave orders to every ship. Kill the hive mind, and the swarm would become blind, confused, and easy to destroy. That was the theory. The problem was that no one had ever found the hive mind. It hid deep inside the swarm's territory, protected by millions of ships. No fleet could reach it. No weapon could touch it. It was like trying to kill a brain hidden inside a mountain of flesh. But humans did not need to reach it. They did not need to send ships or soldiers or bombs. They just needed to talk to it. The virus was ready. It was not big. It was not complicated. It was a small piece of digital code, small enough to fit on an old data chip. The human scientists had designed it to look like a normal swarm communication signal. The swarm would not see it as an attack. It would see it as a message from one of its own ships. Marcus Cole sat in his small ship. The second ship, the one with the virus, floated beside him. He had 2 pilots with him. Both were young. Both were calm. They had volunteered for this mission. They knew they might not come back. "Begin broadcast," Marcus said. The virus traveled through space. It moved from the human ship to the nearest swarm vessel. The swarm vessel accepted the signal, thinking it was one of its own. Then the virus jumped to the next ship. And the next. And the next. It moved faster than light, using the swarm's own communication network against itself. The Xylos watched on their screens. They saw the virus spread. Green dots on the map, one for each infected ship. The green spread like water. Faster and faster. Within 1 hour, the virus had reached every swarm ship in the sector, including the hive mind. The hive mind received the virus. It did not know what it was. It tried to fight it, but the virus was designed by humans, and humans were very good at designing things that were hard to kill. The hive mind struggled for 1 minute. Then it went silent. The swarm stopped. Millions of ships floated in space. They were not destroyed. They were not damaged. They were simply frozen, waiting for orders that would never come. The hive mind was still alive, but it could not think, could not speak, could not command. It was trapped inside its own head, screaming silently, while the virus held the door closed. The Xylos fleet moved in. They had been hiding near their homeworld, waiting for the end. Now they saw their chance. They attacked the frozen swarm ships. No resistance. No counterattack. The swarm ships could not fight back. They could not even run. They just floated there, helpless, while the Xylos destroyed them one by one. It took 3 days. The same amount of time the Xylos had thought they had left to live. On the 3rd day, the last swarm ship exploded. The war was over. 300 years of fighting, ended in less than a week by a small species from a small blue planet. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Every alien empire had failed. Every great fleet had been eaten. Every clever strategy had been defeated. But the humans had done something no one else had even thought of. They had not built a bigger gun. They had built a smarter one. They had not fought the swarm's strength. They had attacked its weakness. The Xylos Council asked Marcus Cole how they could repay humanity. They offered gold. They offered land. They offered technology. They offered anything. Whatever the humans wanted, it was theirs. Marcus thought for a moment. He scratched his gray hair. He looked out the window at the stars. "Give us a seat on your council," he said. "Not because we want power. Because we want a voice. We want to know when the galaxy is in trouble. We want to help before things get this bad again." The council agreed. They gave humanity a seat. It was the first time a small, non-spacefaring species had ever been given such an honor. But the Xylos knew the truth. The humans had earned it. They had not come with weapons. They had come with ideas. And sometimes, one good idea was worth more than 1,000,000 ships. Marcus smiled. "And next time you are losing a war," he said, "call us sooner." The council did not laugh. They simply nodded. Because they knew he was right. And they knew they would never forget the lesson the humans had taught them. Power was not about size. It was about thinking. And humans thought very, very well. News of the victory spread fast. Faster than light. Faster than rumor. The galaxy had seen the swarm fall. They had watched the humans do the impossible. And they wanted to know how. They wanted to know why. They wanted to know if the humans could help them too. Other species began to call Earth. Not for war. For everything. A plague on a distant colony was killing thousands. A famine on a mining world had left millions hungry. A political crisis between 2 old empires was about to explode into bloodshed. The galaxy had problems. Big problems. Problems that no one had been able to solve for years, sometimes centuries. The humans listened. Then they answered. They did not send armies. They did not send warships. They did not send weapons or soldiers or threats. They sent doctors, men and women in white coats who carried medicine and hope. They sent engineers, men and women with tools and ideas who could build anything, anywhere. They sent diplomats, men and women who knew how to listen, how to talk, how to find common ground between enemies. The plague on the distant colony was cured in 2 months. The human doctors did not have a magic medicine. They had patience. They studied the disease. They tried things that had failed before, but they tried them in new ways. They refused to give up, and in the end, they found an answer. The famine on the mining world ended in 3 weeks. The human engineers did not bring food. They brought seeds and soil and water filters. They built farms inside old mines, under the ground, where no farm should grow. They used lights and pipes and hard work. And soon, the miners were eating vegetables grown in the dark. The political crisis between the 2 old empires was solved in one long night. The human diplomat sat in a room with both leaders. She did not take sides. She did not shout. She simply asked questions. Why are you fighting? What do you really want? What are you afraid of? The leaders talked for hours. They yelled. They cried. They blamed each other. But in the end, they shook hands. Because the human diplomat had helped them see what they had in common, not their differences. The galaxy began to change. Slowly at first, then faster. Empires that had hated each other for centuries sat down to talk, because a human diplomat asked them to. Diseases that had killed millions were cured, because a human doctor refused to give up. Starving worlds were fed, because a human engineer built a farm where no farm should grow. The other species did not understand how humans did it. They had tried the same things. They had sent doctors and engineers and diplomats. But something was different about the humans. They did not give up. They did not get frustrated. They did not blame the people they were trying to help. They simply kept working, kept trying, kept believing that a solution existed, even when no one else could see it. The galaxy began to trust them. Not because the humans were powerful, because the humans were reliable. When you called Earth, someone answered. When you asked for help, help came. No questions, no delays, no excuses. Just a simple, honest, we are on our way. The humans did not become rulers. They did not want to rule. They had tried that on their own planet, long ago, and it had always ended badly. They knew that power corrupted. They knew that empires fell. They wanted something different, something better. They became friends, trusted friends. The kind of friends who showed up when you called, no matter how far, no matter how hard. The kind of friends who did not ask for payment or praise or power. The kind of friends who simply helped because that was what friends did. A young alien once asked a human diplomat, "Why do you do this? You have nothing to gain." The diplomat smiled. "We have everything to gain," she said. "We gain a galaxy where our children can grow up without fear. We gain neighbors who remember us kindly. We gain the knowledge that when we needed help, long ago, someone would have done the same for us." The young alien did not fully understand, but he nodded anyway, because he knew one thing for certain. The humans were different, and that difference was making the galaxy a better place. One call at a time, one problem at a time, one friendship at a time. 100 years passed. 100 years since the fall of the swarm. 100 years since a small species from a small blue planet had shown the galaxy what courage looked like. The galaxy was different now. Wars were fewer. Alliances were stronger. Hope was common. Children grew up without fear of invasion. Families built homes without fear of destruction. Old enemies traded goods instead of insults. At the center of it all was Earth, a small blue planet with a yellow sun. It was not the richest world, not the most powerful, not the most advanced, but it was the most trusted. When things went wrong, when problems seemed impossible, when every other door had closed, there was one place the galaxy turned to: Earth. The humans had not changed. They still argued among themselves. They still made mistakes. They still had problems of their own. Their politicians fought. Their news was loud. Their streets were not always safe. They were not perfect. They had never claimed to be. But they had kept their promise. Whenever anyone called for help, they answered. Not with speeches. Not with excuses. With action. With ships and doctors and engineers and diplomats. With food and medicine and tools and ideas. With whatever was needed, for as long as it was needed. A young alien child once asked her mother a question. They were sitting on a hill overlooking a city. The city had been built with human help, after a disaster had destroyed the old one. The child had never known hunger or fear. She had grown up in peace. "Mother," she said, "why do we always call the humans first?" The mother was old. She remembered the time before. The fear. The hunger. The darkness. She remembered when the galaxy was a dangerous place and no one could be trusted. She remembered the first human ship arriving, small and old, looking like a garbage hauler. She remembered the hope she had felt, small and fragile, like a candle in a storm. She smiled at her daughter. Her eyes were wet. "Because every alien empire failed us," she said. "Every great fleet let us down. Every powerful species turned away. They said we were not their problem. They said we should solve our own troubles. They said the galaxy was cruel and we should learn to live with it." She paused. She looked at the sky. A human ship was passing overhead, white and quiet, on its way to help someone else. "But the humans," she continued, "the humans always came. They did not come with weapons. They came with ideas. They did not come to conquer. They came to help. They did not ask what we could give them. They asked what we needed. And when you are drowning in the dark, when you have lost everything, when you have no hope left, that is the only kind of friend that matters." The child nodded. She did not fully understand. She had never been drowning. She had never known the dark. But she heard the truth in her mother's voice. And she promised herself that she would remember. In a small room on Earth, a single phone sat on a wooden desk. The room was plain. White walls. A window. A chair. A small plant in the corner. The phone was old. Its paint was scratched. Its cord was worn. But it worked. It always worked. The phone rang. A human woman picked it up. Her name was Elena. She had worked in this room for 20 years. She had answered thousands of calls. Each one was different. Each one was important. She never knew what to expect. A plague. A famine. A war. A broken engine. A lost child. Anything could be on the other end of the line. "Hello," she said. Her voice was calm. "Kind. This is Earth. How can we help?" On the other end of the line, an alien voice spoke. It was desperate. It was afraid. It was shaking. But underneath the fear, there was something else. Hope. Because the voice knew the call had been answered. The voice knew that Earth always answered. "We are dying," the alien said. "Our sun is failing. Our crops are dead. Our children are hungry. Please. We have nowhere else to go." Elena listened. She wrote something on a piece of paper. A location. A name. A number. She did not promise anything. She did not make guarantees. She simply did what humans had always done. "Hold on," she said. "We are on our way." She hung up. She picked up another phone. She gave orders. Ships were prepared. Food was loaded. Engineers were called. Doctors were woken. The machine began to move. The same machine that had saved the Xylos. The same machine that had cured plagues and ended famines and stopped wars. The same machine that had been running for 100 years. Outside the window, the sky was blue. Ships were rising from the ground, leaving white lines across the clouds. People were moving with purpose. The galaxy was calling again. And humanity was answering. Like it always did. Like it always would. The promise had been made. The promise had been kept. And as long as there was someone in need, somewhere in the dark, the promise would never be broken. Because that was what humans did. That was who humans were. And the galaxy was better for it.